Start over again?
No, you can go.
Okay.
That gets edited out. You do not have to read everything.
I've been supervisor for 2 years and a professional planner for 30 years now. My husband and I, being residents of this town for 46 and 42 years, along with having our employer's base of operation located here in the town. Holding the public hearing tonight on the chapters that are at least 2 iterations old, and then voting to move a document forward public is not seen as professionally unethical, and far from showing concern that the public be encouraged to participate when we may have potentially wasted hours of our time going through the outdated documents. There's no need to rush process. You, the committee, as I've listened to your meetings, have even expressed concern with the timeline and being pushed through. The town board will not be able to adopt this plan before the end of the year, having to follow the seeker process, which at a minimum will take 70 days. And I take exception to MRB's position that if one person makes a comment on material in the plan, it will not be considered substantive and not needed to be reviewed and discussed by the full committee. That was said on 10/22. All comments are substantive and should be given equal weight to discuss. This is not MRB's comprehensive plan. This is our town's plan. Steering committee should decide what to be discussed and what is to be included in the plan, not the other way around. Additionally, you have 2 new council persons joining the board in January, and they should be included in the review process before a comprehensive plan is adopted, because they will be charged with deciding how to move forward with elements of the plan. So another public hearing of this committee should be set, and the public provided with a complete compiled document to review and provide comments on before moving it on to the ground.
Thank you very much.
Adequate time. This is not even adequate time. You just interrupted me, so.
I'm sorry, the rules are, it's stated right on the agenda that we have 3 minutes per person.
Yeah.
We offered. All I was gonna say is please feel free to hand the notes to Carissa because they become part of the public record. That's all I was trying to say.
Turn down these dingings. It's kind of really distracting.
We will try, but we want to make sure we hear the folks when they start talking on the agenda, but when they start talking, if anybody's providing. So
all of this,
yeah, that's when people come in on and off. So we'll see if we can play around.
It's helpful for me because if I'm focused on the minutes, it's hard to know if someone is hanging out waiting. Sorry.
All right, so we're going to continue with the privilege of the floor. Again, this is for anything that's not on the agenda. So I'm going to go to who's online, and if there's anybody who would like to provide comment on the privilege of the floor, please come up video or raise your hand. Wait, we go off video, or are we blocking video?
Video is not blocked right now.
Okay, all right. Not seeing anybody, so I'm gonna come back. Sure.
Thank you. I'll have some specific comments as well when we get into the show. I'm Bob Howarth. I live at 4124 Reynolds Road in Trumansburg, Ulysses. I've lived there for 39 years and 4 months. It's my primary residence. Served on the Board of Zoning Appeals for 11 years up until last January. I was the chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals for 5 years. I served on the town's last zoning update steering committee where I represented the BZA, and I was on that for 3 years, and I served for 4 years on the Ulysses Ag and Farmland Protection Committee, which resulted in the 2013 plan. I feel this process is very rushed. I don't think you're taking public input seriously. The postcard we received in the mail was not an attention gather. It's not a way to get public input. It comes across as a group not really wanting our input. The fact that you might vote on accepting the plan or not tonight without having full chance to think about what we're saying. Most of us will have statements that are longer than what you're going to hear. It's going to take time to go through this. So I strongly urge you to slow down, pay attention to the importance of the town. The map over there is our current zoning map. This proposed one is hugely different. And I'll go into some of the reasons I find that extremely problematic. And thank you.
Thank you. All right, back to online. Anybody wish to speak during the privilege of the floor? Okay. Anybody else in person like to speak during the privilege of the floor?
Can I just ask a question? Will we be limited to 3 minutes for the public hearing portion, or might we be able to go over? Because if we can go over, I'd rather just hold until then. I won't be going over a lot, that it would go over 3 minutes? Otherwise, I might divvy this up.
Well, historically, we've done 3 minutes. If the committee member is open to it, we can extend it to 5 because we actually have people here to talk as opposed to prior meetings. Does anybody have any concerns with 5 minutes?
I mean, we have 10 chapters. It's 5 minutes should be allowed. In fact, when the town board had a public hearing, 3 public hearings, they combined together at the last town board meeting. When people stood up to speak, they got 3 minutes every time they started a new topic. So I think at least 5 minutes should be allowed if people want to speak longer. It's 10 chapters, it's 188 pages.
Okay,
Oh, I have a question.
yes,
I think we are allowing people to speak per chapter, right?
Well, I asked that
Yeah.
question, but
Yep.
it wasn't
That's
answered.
what I thought.
Okay, so it
because
is.
we have open meeting clause, so the discussions have to happen here, just to set the record straight.
Clarification of it, Janet, can happen in an email.
Please, let's keep everything focused on the agenda and not have side talk. All right, yes, we will give
Okay, then
more
I'll
opportunity
hold
to
off
talk.
on it.
All right, anybody online? I know we have a few more folks who have joined us. We're doing privilege of the floor for any discussions or comments you want to provide the committee on anything that's not specifically on the agenda tonight. Still nobody? Okay. Anybody else in person? I can't see everybody, but
Actually, I would like to say something.
okay, Chris, you can have the floor.
Okay, Chris Kale. I live at 3110 Du Bois Road, Ithaca. Sorry, I just got home from work. I have a bunch of, I've actually read through the whole 300+ pages of the draft. That was a bit of an effort. I've made the point also to the town board, but I just feel that the entire process is by far too fast a pace to allow for meaningful public input from, perhaps from people who want to just skim over the top. But for those of us who would like to really participate in a substantive way, it's been exceptionally difficult. I've attended as many of the comp plan meetings as I possibly could. And I've attempted, I came to the public input sessions. I was actually unable to make it to all the stations in the public input sessions. I also feel like, the pace actually it makes it difficult even for the people who are on the comp plan committee to have enough time to reflect and research. And I've made efforts to contact 2 of the comp plan committee people, through the process who are in my neighborhood to try to, get that. And again, just the pace, it's too much. They don't have time to meet with individuals from the neighborhood. So I, made this pitch to the town board as well. I just wish that the whole process could be slowed down to give time for meaningful input. And that's all. I just, I feel the end product would be ever so much better. I understand that time will be taken with the zoning, but if there are inaccuracies or oversights or lacunas or whatever in the comp plan itself, it really opens the door to litigation. And, in particular, given that lower income people like myself have a hard time keeping up with this kind of pace, I think it adds to there being too much power vested in the more well-to-do people in the community. So that's all. I just wanted to let folks know that. I wish I could have more time, particularly with the housing element, to be able to have input on it. I also think the potential for meaningful input from David West, who's now with the county doing housing work, would also
you.
be worth it. Okay,
Okay.
thank,
Nope, appreciate the feedback, and if there are items that we have some comments, and we can, you feel free to speak up during housing too, if there's something specific once we open the public hearing.
yep.
Thank you. Anyone else in person like to speak on privilege of the floor? Okay, online, anybody like to speak that hasn't already? I'll do one more time, a call for the floor in person. And online. Okay, again, there is an opportunity to talk at public hearing that's coming up next, so with that, I'd like to make a
Motion.
Yes.
Close public, or the
privilege of the floor.
privilege of the floor.
Second.
All right, thank you. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, so we are now going to move into, sorry, I lost my agenda. The privilege of the floor. Or I meant the public hearing, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, so,
Sorry.
yes,
So are we skipping committee rules and process, or did we move that?
no, I forgot that, that's why. I was going back.
Okay.
So we're not doing privilege of the floor, we're gonna move, just remind folks of the committee rules and process. So, just as a reminder, at the beginning of this committee, we started and we discussed rules and procedures for talking and interacting. This committee has been working really hard for the last 2 years, and I'm very grateful for everybody's hard work. And we are almost there. But we're here tonight to thankfully hear from the public. We're glad they're here. And we do need to make sure that hearing the concerns from the public, I've seen it on Facebook, not that that's an official post, but and here, I think that there's an opportunity to provide more time and slow things down. So I'd like to consider just allowing more time for us to vet the drafts, especially the draft that was just released last week. It is very much an improvement on 17. But I want you guys to have a full sense of what's in there and make sure we're good to go before we're ready to go to the town board. So hence why the resolutions, I didn't put the
But
resolution.
so back to so you moved the discussion of the timing way down, so we'll talk in more detail about the
Yes,
timing.
I'm just letting the people know that before the public hearing, that we will be consider extending the time frame and offering more public input opportunities, which we'll discuss after the public hearing. But just to let you know, this is not gonna go to the town board's not gonna get a recommendation from us tonight. So,
Thanks
yes.
for the clarifications.
With that said, I'd also like to just remind folks we're trying to stay positive. We're all trying to get to a place where this town is better in the future. So please keep positive comments. It's nothing personal here. And so we're all just here trying to do the best we can for our town. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to reopen the public hearing on the draft comp plan. Do I have a second? Okay, and we will, there are lots of chapters. I'm not gonna go one by one. If you're up here, I want you to do your whole public speech and get through it, and then we'll go to the next person. We'll go back and forth online and in person as well. And we're gonna be looser on the timing for this because we want to hear from you. All right. With that, Was there somebody in person that would like to start? All right, please just remember to say your name and your address as well.
Sarah Adams, 4 Falls Street, Village, Tweedsburg. And thank you all for all the incredible amount of time you put into this, and I know it's not easy. An easy task. I've been on other comp plan committees in the city of Ithaca, so I also want to say that I concur with the comments that have been made so far about the timing and the process. I would like to add my comment that I hope this can be slowed down a bit so that people can spend a little more time getting through it. So I did have one question about the time of 2025, 2045, because I thought the comprehensive plan was used typically a 15-year plan. And so that's a comment I'm making, because I was surprised with myself. Oh, okay. And I don't know whether that was anything that the committee discussed or where that number came from. Just raising that. I know that comprehensive plans are supposed to build on the previous comprehensive plan. And I went back and looked at the vision statement and for 2009, and then compared that a little bit with the 2025 vision statement. And I thought the 2009 statement was a pretty good statement. And I guess what I find confusing in the 25 one is that it feels like it's kind of something for everybody. It's sustainability, it's development, it's preserving the agricultural open space. It's kind of all the catchwords that we use today. And, frankly, probably a lot of us would like, but I don't really think that's possible. I think you have to start to make some decisions about what type of community you're going to end up with. And if you're trying to add development and increase services and expand the water districts, and yet you want to keep it sustainable development that encourages growth, yet protects our cherished small town character and natural resources. I'm not sure reading this, I would know really what that meant. And I think that for anybody, trying to go forward with the zoning on this, it's really, I know there's the map and that's obviously helpful. But I guess if the map sort of is the specifics to the vision statement, I think it'd be helpful to have the map up front, right at the beginning of the document. And so that's a suggestion. I honestly didn't have time. I read the 30-some page summary. I was a little bit confused by the proposed committees, create a town placemaking plan, update the agricultural protection plan, develop a housing action plan, create a transfer of development rights feasibility study, new housing advisory committee, zoning audit. It seemed like the comprehensive plan was kind of relying on a lot of things that haven't been done. And so I'm not clear, how those things fit into the actual comprehensive plan and what happens if those don't happen. It's putting a lot of emphasis on more information and more input. And it's a little unclear to me how that all kind of fits into the plan that's going to be ultimately presented. So let me see. I know that comprehensive plans are considered sort of roadmaps for zoning, and I've always had this issue about the environmental impact statement of comprehensive plans, because they like, oh, well, you're not really doing anything, so there's no impact. And yet you are doing things, and when I pulled up the EIS, the draft EIS online, I only found like 3 of 13 pages that had been filled out. So that seemed like a problem to me. But I, thinking about this community, having been through a recent drought, and it seems like we have to at least have some baseline. What can we actually support in terms of growth, in terms of amount of water usage, in terms of expanding sewer lines, in terms of additional roads? And I don't know that maybe this information is available, but I haven't seen it. And it concerns me specifically about the water, because it's finite, and we're gonna go through more periods of ups and downs in terms of water availability. And impervious surfaces is another big one. With every development, you're paving over more and more land that would otherwise absorb runoff. So I'm wondering if that information has been available to the committee when they're discussing these various proposals and within each of these categories. I also would be curious to see what the changes are from this comprehensive plan to the 2009. Since most people aren't going to read over 300 pages, having sort of a, cheat sheet to say, well, this is where we're looking at maybe more development or extending the, highlight some of those changes for people. Again, just urge you to maybe break apart these various categories and try to have, I know it's hard to get people involved, but try to have some more working sessions on specific proposals. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna, just for everybody, I'll give you a warning when it's 5 minutes. I'm not gonna stop you right at 5 minutes, but just try to wrap up, and everything that you say is being recorded. If you have things written down, please feel free to give it to us. We'll give it to Carissa and it'll be part of the record. Okay. All right. Is there anybody online that would like to talk during the public hearing? Linda, sure. You want to come off video and mute, and just introduce yourself and provide your address, that would be great.
Sorry, I'm not going to come off video because I had some surgery yesterday.
Nope. No need to explain. You don't have to. I was just offering if you wanted it.
You don't want to see it. No.
Well, I hope you're doing okay.
I am, thanks. Okay, so I'm Linda Little, 4231 Du Bois Road. I'm a member of the Planning Board and the Water Committee. The Planning Board met last night, and unfortunately I wasn't able to participate, so I'm taking advantage of this time to make a few personal comments and possible upgrades to the plan. I thought the plan document was very well done and well laid out. As a Planning Board member, I've had lots of opportunities to refer back to the 2009 plan. We use it all the time with planning questions that come up. So I know it pretty well. I think this one will be very usable for the Planning Board as a reference document as well. I also think this whole process is a great opportunity to educate the community as well as soliciting feedback from the public. As consequence, I'm going to be redundant here. I think we need to take plenty of time for additional community review of the document. In other words, consider slowing down the process. Getting down to the few critiques I had, I think also, as the previous speakers said, I think it would be useful to add a page that identifies significant changes from the this plan and the 2009 version. A significant one that I noticed was the removal of the conservation zone and changing it, I think, to medium density, which is a kind of a big difference, at least in the wording. Whether what it has significantly in impact is unclear, but that's a big change, especially given the way we use it for planning and those kinds of processes. I also think it would be very helpful to have access to the appendices when you read, that were referenced in the document. When you read it, there were a couple of questions I had that probably could have been easily answered with an appendice. With my water committee hat, I like to see a few references to the Water Source Protection Plan as a resource in both the land use and the environmental chapters. It is referenced in the climate change chapter, but not in those two. And the WSPP makes several recommendations that are pretty consistent with recommendations in the comp plan. For example, around critical environmental areas, especially around the regeneration areas. And last but not least, I'm surprised that there isn't a detailed recommendation on the recreation field planning, especially since we have had quite a bit of recent public comment on the subject. The only reference I could find, and maybe I wasn't reading it right, I was using the copy that was on the website. The only reference I could find was that we need to work with Jacksonville to come up with recreation field ideas. But I think it's with Trumansburg, Jacksonville, everybody to come up with a plan. And I would like to see that the comp plan recommends that there is a more specific plan about how recreation will be dealt with in the future. So looking at my notes, I think that's it.
Thank you. If anything else comes to mind, you can always email.
I got more time.
Sure. No, we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's go back to in person. Do you mind if I go with her first?
No.
Please,
Okay,
come on.
thank you. My name is Susan Ritter. I've been a resident of Ulysses for 22 years, living at 1194 Craft Road. I've worked in land use planning for 25 years, 12 of which I was the director of planning for the town of Ithaca. I retired a little over 2 years ago. Well, with the town, my staff and I prepared the town of Ithaca's 2014 comprehensive plan. I also served on the town of Ulysses 2009 comprehensive committee, and I've also worked on the Ulysses zoning committee and a previous water committee. I submitted 7 pages of comments earlier today, so I'm sure members have not had a chance to look at them, but hopefully you have them. With limited time, I'm just going to quickly read the highlights from my submission. I want to thank the committee for the opportunity to comment on this initial draft of the Ulysses comprehensive plan. I appreciate what a major endeavor the comprehensive planning process is, and I applaud members for their commitment to this important undertaking. I do understand what a slog it is to go through this, but I very much appreciate it. There's clearly been a lot of work that has gone into this document, but I urge the committee to continue to shape and closely scrutinize this plan so it better reflects what the concerns of the residents are and is workable and easily understandable document. In the chapters I've had time to read, and I hope to have an opportunity to review more, I've offered a range of comments concerning data presentation and analysis, organization of chapters, wording choices, and about confusing sections, etc. But my biggest concern lies with the proposed future land use map and plan. The draft plan is proposing major changes will have far-reaching implications if implemented. I question how this proposal is taken shape. Were committee members provided with maps and resources to assist in their analysis and decision-making of this plan? Did a detailed and robust discussion about this proposal occur? Does a committee have a consensus on this proposal? And that's why it was set forth to the public. The adoption of a comprehensive plan is one of the most significant land use actions taken by a municipality because it sets a precedent for all other land use initiatives going forward. I implore the committee to continue this important work. I implore that you take the time that's needed and not feel unnecessarily rushed or harried, so that you can create the worthwhile document that the town of Ulysses deserves. Here are a few of my specific comments. Why are the conservation and lakeshore zones being eliminated? The proposed lake low-density residential designation proposed along and adjacent to Titanic Boulevard is a major departure and inconsistent with the current zoning. The proposed minimum lot size would subject many parcels to further fragmentation. The current zones were established in recognition of the steep slopes, mature forests, fragile cliffs, plants and wildlife habitats, and numerous large and small streams that define the area. Much of this land was designated as unique natural areas by Tompkins County, which in addition to the reason I just mentioned above, also recognizes the corridor's scenic and aesthetic significance. These UNAs, unique natural areas, connect with similar UNAs in the town of Ithaca and conservation zones that I helped to establish while working for the town of Ithaca. And they create an important and unique biological corridor from the city and town municipal line all the way to Titanic Falls State Park. This is truly a unique corridor. These lands warrant additional consideration. Then on to the medium density residential designation. It is proposed to be permitting 8 units per acre and would be a significant expansion of density in the town. Under this proposal, well over 1,000 acres would be eligible for potential upzoning in the town, many of this in state certified ag districts. Combining 8 units per acre with a proposed requirement of greater than 50% undeveloped open space requirement and spreading this designation throughout the town is a recipe for excessive sprawl. Exactly what this plan suggests that is trying to prevent. Increasing density makes sense, but only for targeted and limited areas of the town. And it should be coupled with a much smaller open space requirement to make the most efficient use of land for development and to make expansion of utilities as cost effective as possible. There's little justification for accelerating this degree of development potential throughout the town when the population projections cited in the plan indicate slow growth in the town. Nor does this seem in concert with a realistic picture of how water and sewer expansion should take place in the town. Moving on to the industrial zone. The industrial zone, why is the entire 118-acre Agard parcel currently owned by Puga Compost and P&S Excavation being designated in its entirety as industrial when only about 15 acres are actually used for the business facility and the remainder is currently in mostly active field crops or woods? I'm hoping this is just a flaw in the math. And then I further ask, why is the compost facility and the auto salvage yard even designated industrial? Was this determined to be the best future use of the land in these businesses? Is this the best use of this land if these businesses cease operation? The comp plan is not a zoning ordinance. It's a vision for the future. Does the industrial even fit the current use, or would a different term or terms recognize current use and provide a better future for what this land should be in the future? The future land use map and plan and zoning regulations work in tandem to create a full picture of how land will be used. For this reason, it's important to provide an assessment of the current zoning, determine what changes will be needed to be implemented for the future land use plan. I would ask, where are the assessments and recommended changes discussed? And then finally, I just have this one point that during the development of the 2009 comp plan, the committee held many meetings without Bergman and Associates. Those were the consultants we used. This was before there was even a planner for the town. So the committee recognized the need for conversations amongst the group, that we had to work out differing opinions and just work on the plan without feeling pressure. You know, a member of the group would collect the committee comments and then provide redline versions of the modified text for the next meeting. I guess I would ask, if consultant costs are an issue, I would suggest holding some meetings without your consultant so that you guys can have a conversation about this plan and not the pressure. So again, I appeal to the committee to continue working on this important initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody online joined that would like to provide comments during the public hearing? Not seeing anybody. Bob, you go.
Thank you. I printed out some written comments, so let me distribute those for you. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll go the other way. Thank you. And I'll be brief. Bob Howarth from 4124 Reynolds Road in Trumansburg. I agree with what the other members of the committee have said so far. I completely agree with what Sue Ritter just said. I think it's very puzzling, very, to me, worrisome to introduce the idea of industrial zones within the town of Ulysses. Didn't go into that in my written statement, but back when the town first voted to ban fracking, one of the reasons that we were able to take a lead in the state on that is we did not have industrial zoning within the town, and I think it would be a mistake to go forward. The existing areas you're calling industry could revert to other things, as Sue says. The junkyard, in my opinion, is currently illegal and against the zone. It's not industrial, it's an illegal use of land. Let me, however, comment a little bit on chapter 2. Chapter 2 is the only chapter I've read carefully. And again, just I agree with Sue's comment on the and others, the littles on the need to protect the area near the lakeshore. The town spent a lot of effort coming up with that lakeshore protection area and conservation zone there. I played no part in that, but I watched people do it and I know it was carefully done, and I think that's important. I am an environmental scientist. Those are particularly vulnerable areas to erosion, nutrient pollution to the lake. They deserve extra protection. They have extra protection. I hate to see the town move away from this. One of the things I want to highlight, those is my personal approach, my personal viewpoint on problems with the data that underlie chapter 2. And I've highlighted that on my page 2. Let me start with the first page. You've got a picture here at the top. That is off the town website, the document library, where all the documents here lie. And I just very proud to say that this land over here is the land that Roxanne, Marina, and I live on and own, our 93 acres of farmland. So I'm glad that people think it's beautiful and productive land. We farmed it for 40 years. That land has been continuously farmed for at least 160 years. There's one house on the land. We live in it now. It was built in 1870. There's a barn structure on it. Somehow or another, and and I should add that for the last half dozen years, our land has been farmed in cooperation with Torah Orkney's. Rux and I are the legal farmers of the land. We get huge tax breaks from that. I appreciate it. Tor is the active person farming it, and he just won an award for the best conservation farming in the state of New York last September. So our land is 5% of his operation. We're proud of it, and I'm proud of Tor, and the township proud of it. Going to the problems with the data set, though, on my second page, I show 2 maps. First one is map 1 from the chapter, and it proposes to show what agricultural lands, forest types are there. Most of the town is white, suggesting there isn't much agriculture. I put a little red circle down there, and in the middle of that red circle is a big white square. That's our property. That's our 93 acres. And it says it's not farming. Well, it is. It's 65 acres actively farmed. It's 18 acres managed farmland. It's 4 acres under Reynolds Road. 92% of our land is actively farmed and has been for 160 years. So this map is wrong. And the question is, what about all these other white areas? Where's the fact check? There's no data source given for this map, so I don't know where it came from. But at least in our case, it's wrong. Map number 2 down here, and it proposed to show property classification. And again, I've shown a red circle with our land in the middle. This time it's yellow, and it says our land is residential, not farming. Again, yes, we live there. Other people have lived there since the house was built in 1870. It's the only house. Nothing has changed. It's an active farmland in Brisbane, Maine. Now the chapter refers to the 2013 Ag and Farmland Protection Plan. I'm one of the people who contribute to that, and I'm proud of it. I think it's a good plan. The chapter doesn't use any of the information out of that, though. It just refers to it and then moves on. And so I've shown here one of the maps out of many. There are about 15 maps out of that plan. This one shows farmland according to 2013 in the town. It shows a lot more farmland than what you're seeing in what's in your chapter 2. And it also breaks it down into 3 categories. Gray areas where no one was able to figure out who owned it or how it was operating. We knew it was farmed. And then 2 other categories, which are either owner farmed or rented farmed. And the point there is that much of the farmland in our town is rented farm. higher proportion than is typical for most of agriculture in the state or in New York. And that's important when we think about land use, because the owners aren't necessarily the active person out there that's what's going on. You need to pay attention to that in terms of moving forward with things going. I also showed one more map down here from the 2013 plan. This in green shows that over 2/3 of the town is in Ag District 2 for the county. Most of the town is in Ag District 2. So when we look at your proposed map there, we have that big swath of deep orange over there. That is in an Ag district. That is going to challenge keeping it in district. It's going to be a real challenge to the town, to the county, and to the people who own and manage land in that area. Finally, other parts of the map here, the lighter orange things, maybe that's the color on color,
No.
but that's how it looks to me.
It is.
It looks to me to be spot zoning. You're sort of picking out lot by lot what to do. And looking at my own neighborhood in Reynolds Road, a lot of that is now becoming residential, where it's classically been agriculture. Again, it's in the ag district. And at least one case, one of the lots is identified there as residential, is an active farm. So I think you have data problems here. I really think you need to go back and look at the underlying data. If you don't understand how the land is being used, how can you come up with a plan for managing? Appreciate the time, and I appreciate the effort all of you are doing. I know how much work this is, and I understand the stress and the urge to just finish it, but it's an important document. When I was on the BZA, we regularly went back and looked at the 2009 comp plan to see, you know, we're asked to when we're asked to make an exception to the zoning, part of what state law mandates is that the BZA members determine the intent behind that zoning in making our decision. And the comp plan is the basis for intent. It's the best document. So this is a critically important document. Thank you.
Thank you. Krista, did you get a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, back to online. Is there anybody who would like to be part of the public hearing?
Yes, this is Chris again.
Chris, you have 5 minutes,
Okay.
whenever you're ready.
I'm glad that I actually went after Bob because I have some of the same concerns and I'm going to be able to just say ditto. I was involved in the Lake Shore Zoning Committee and the Agriculture Committee of the town for a number of years. I also served on the planning board for 9 years in the 90s. And additionally have been involved as an agricultural consultant, although I'm now mostly retired from that career. I do not think that the agriculture that's taking place in the town is properly being portrayed by the maps that we have. And I think that's a big issue because, again, you know, the potential there for litigation is a big deal because if a farmer qualifies, they often will have pro bono legal assistance from the Department of Agriculture, and that can be hard on a town. Along the same lines, I was happy to see in the housing element the designation of relatively small area with only about 6 large landowners, of which I'm one, as a sort of, I forget the name of their software, but, you know, clearly showing proximity to jobs and to transportation routes, both in terms of the potential to get to bus stops, but which, of course, bus stops actually move a lot in our community. It's a little different from what planners might be used to, where bus stops are more entrenched and the routes don't change much, but nonetheless, looking at that area, I know sitting here where I do on Du Bois Road, I'm about 3/4 of a mile from Francisca Racker Center, which is one of the larger employers in the county. Now, admittedly, that's just their administration. A lot of their people are not coming there on a daily basis, but nonetheless, it's a big employer. And the hospital, which is another really large employer. Now, you know, the conservation zone is also important. Both the old conservation zone and the new approach of lower density housing is using the assumption that the only way to protect vulnerable soils is to prohibit building on them. And that's actually kind of a rough tool to use. It is entirely possible to use other planning approaches other than just, oh, we just won't allow many houses, to both take advantage of areas that may be delicate, that are located in good proximity to jobs, and also have the kinds of environmental protections we would want to have. One of the big ones, obviously, is public sewers. That makes a big difference in, you know, what's going on. But it can also be important to actually look directly at the hydrology. That is the reason I've been coming to the town board repeatedly asking that there be hydrological studies, so that we can see where the water actually goes and better protect the areas where there are waterways and underground waterways, while perhaps allowing for more development of areas that are less of a problem. Along the same lines, I was really shocked when I looked at the land use map to see that the development district in my area, which I feel has never really adhered very well to the rules set down in the development district for itself, became a commercial district. That to me is a
5 minutes,
big
so
leap.
if you want to finish that thought.
That's
Keep
pretty
talking.
much finishing that thought, that I would like to see the development districts be a part of the plan going forward and have more thought given to that.
I appreciate that. Anybody in person like to speak? Sure.
I'm Helen McClellan, 8120-227 this night is one of my addresses. Oh, sorry, we can't hear you. Okay. I actually came here just to listen and didn't intend to speak, so I don't have any prepared remarks. But particularly the comments that Bob made resonated with me, because I had not seen this map. And I know you're not able to answer questions here, but I have a big one. My property has been rural agricultural, and it's now no longer that. It's the low density residential. It is agricultural. It is being actively farmed. And as Bob noted, I'm one of those, I own the land, but I rent it out. I don't farm it myself. I have to say, I object to it not being labeled as agricultural. And I know that it has, according to that map, it has long been kind of an orphan within its area, but it is agricultural. I intend to keep it agricultural. It has been farmed by big families since 1852. And so I'd like to know at some point how I can find out why that change is made and what I can do to affect it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have been keeping notes of a couple things, so this is for you guys to talk, not to have a back and forth with us, but I have been taking notes and be able to answer some questions later on. Hey, so online, is there anybody who would like to talk and provide comments during the public hearing? No one? Okay, oh, I'm not doing this right. Anybody in person like to? Welcome back.
Yes, apologies for getting a little excited there because I did get interrupted and having practiced my Evelyn Wood speeds talking all afternoon. I tried to get into 3 minutes, but I am now here as the executive director of the Cuba Lake Scenic Byway. And I do, because I did submit this letter earlier, but I do want to read it for the rest of the public to hear. So this letter is submitted on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Cuba Lake Scenic Byway Incorporated to inform you that the organization was not notified of this public hearing, nor has the organization received any direct communications about the comprehensive plan update since participating in a focus group back on November 22nd, 2004. All correspondence regarding this plan update from here on forward is to be directed to our executive director at the address listed on the letterhead to the left. As the entity charged with managing and promoting the Cuba Lake Scenic Byway, when byway communities engage in updating or developing comprehensive plans, zoning ordinance, or local laws, or reviewing development projects that will impact the byway corridor, we are concerned when we are not given the opportunity to provide comment. The 2001 Cuba Lake Scenic Byway Corridor Management Plan, which we are currently in the process of updating, is cited in your comprehensive plan update document in 5 out of the 10 chapters, yet nowhere is it included in any of the goals, objectives, or policy statements. As a tourism destination recognized by the 3 county tourism office, Cuba, Tompkins, and Seneca, and New York State, the experience of byway travelers along the corridor should be part of discussions and assessments for land use and policies that could impact the corridor. While we have not had adequate time to review, assess, and comment in detail at this public hearing, we note our concerns over the glaring departure from the 2009 future land use plan for the Cuba Lake Scenic Byway corridor along New York State Route 89. The 2009 plan recognized the unique landscape character of the land surrounding New York State Route 89 through the Lakeshore Conservation Area and Environmental Protection Zone. The proposed 2025, which goes to 2045, future land use plan does away with these 3 categories, replacing them with predominantly a low density residential category, a category that is also scattered across the town and does not recognize the diverse landscape between these scattered areas. Given additional time, we will provide input on the goals, objectives, and policies, but we do want to go on record tonight expressing our concern on the omission of the consideration of proposed changes to the future land use plan that could impact the Cuba Lake Scenic Byway corridor. Respectfully submitted, Kathy Millsbaugh, Chair of the Board of Directors. And I also want to thank the committee, simply those who are not paid or volunteering. Again, I did this twice. I know what time it takes. I appreciate it. And I also want to thank those of you who are on the BZA and the planning board for your time that you volunteered to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not seeing anybody new online, but I'll give you one chance, another chance. Anybody online want to talk? Linda?
If I can have some more time, I did miss one thing that I wanted to talk about. And that was talking about having a reference in the the environmental chapter about the private water supply in the area being a resource, an environmental resource that we need to protect. And there wasn't much discussion about it in that section. And I think there should be more to make a point that it is something that we need to watch out for. Okay. And I also concur with the folks that have been talking about the map. There needs to be some map data reconciliation because I noticed a couple errors as well in my neck of the woods. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody in person? No one? Alright. Yep. So, did you just make that?
I just made a motion to
Alright,
table.
so there's a motion to table the public hearing, not close it. We'll table it. Is there a second?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, got it, alright, second. All those in favor of tabling public hearing? Aye. Aye. Thank you all very much who did come out. We've been meeting and we haven't had this public participation at all. So I'm grateful for you guys to come out and talk to us and give your input. So you're more than welcome to stick around for the rest of the meeting. We're gonna keep talking. It's also gonna be online later this week. If you wanna go on to the YouTube channel. How's everybody feeling? Ready to keep going? I was gonna say, anybody need like a minute? We'll take a 5-minute stretch bio break.
There's snacks in the kitchen.
And there's snacks.
You had me at.
Slow up. Nope. Yes, now we are. Okay. We are back and we have a lot to talk about in the committee that we've heard the public. We did table the public hearing, so that means the public still has an opportunity to provide feedback, either in writing, coming to our meeting, coming to the town board meetings. There's a variety of different ways for you still to provide public comments on this plan. So right now we're gonna start talking about the timing. And just a reminder, this is a very exciting process. There's a lot of emotions on this process, but let's work together to get a good path forward. And see where we can take this to make sure we're meeting the public's comments and sending it to the town board when we're ready. Okay. So who would like to start? I don't want to lead this discussion. This is not me talking. This is the committee talking. So
I'll say that I think we should slow it down.
Okay.
What we heard tonight, I think people are very confused about what's going on. And I think we better if we slow it down and explain to everybody what we're doing. So that we don't have a problem later.
I agree with the need for more time. However, my concern, since the timeline was originally discussed, was the accompanying concern about the cost, because I don't think that we should burden taxpayers with additional costs. And I think the public may not even realize. So I think as we talk about that timeline, we need to understand how much more costly is that going to be? I'm sorry. And is it possible? Because a lot of this, it sounds like really is taking time to give everyone the opportunity to review and give feedback. Us more time, but also the general public more time. Is there a way to suspend the consulting fees and bring them back when we're at a better place? My major concern that I haven't really heard us address, and the main reason why I wasn't more vocal or advocating for more time is because of my concern that it would be costly, and then, the question of that balance.
Appreciate that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that would be up to Caitlin right here. How do we approach that?
Well, I was gonna make a Roxanne can go next, but I have a recommendation actually, to both of yours.
Okay, Roxanne.
Yeah, and did you?
No, I was just gonna say, I agree, and then I also agreed with the comment, from the community member who suggested, because I feel like a lot of it is obviously we need time for ourselves, but then for us to hash out and like debate or whatever word you want to insert in there, about the comprehensive plan. So if there was a way to suspend, just the consultants and we kind of have meetings on our own.
Okay.
I think that was the major concern is like timeline for us, then to them to get back to us, then to, like, yeah.
Thank you. Roxanne?
So I was gonna say something along that line. I was on the laptop plan update, that Sue Pergordy was the chair of when she spoke. And we did have a lot of discussions without the consultants there. And just like she said, there's ways you can think of to take notes or to record them, or there's things we can do to pass it on. And we now have this full draft finally, and so we have something to work off of and to look at, and then, to continue to get more public input. And just to the point of the finances, I said this before, but I totally understand, the issue, but I also think it's a false economy, and that it can end up costing us a lot more to have a poor comprehensive plan that you try to then implement into zoning and then gets challenged legally. And there's not enough buy-in from the public. I think, I've read a whole bunch of things from the American Planning Association and many other things. Always, they emphasize public buy-in is really critical to success later on with implementation. And so I just feel like, I hope that we can just figure out a way forward, and I just don't think it should be driven by the cost of keeping a consultant coming every time. I don't think we need it.
Anne does have a comment. So, Anne, do you wanna come off mic?
Hey there. First, really sorry I'm not there in the room, and thank you, Liz, for leading today. I guess I had a couple things to ask and perhaps comment on. I am wondering about, the fee as well, and whether or not the project fee is simply a project fee. I'm a consultant, and generally, I have a contract and I have a target number of hours that I spend, but on a particular grant or whatever, but generally it's a project fee and it gets done, when it gets done. So I'm not really sure, that's probably in our agreement somewhere, but I don't know the structure of that. And either way, I guess I really do like the idea of pausing the consultant's time, if we need to do that, to kind of relieve them of putting, more time in as we deliberate. And then I guess secondly, just to voice my support for pausing, I know I mentioned a while ago, I had kind of personal reasons for not being able to keep up, but then basically the committee all commented on, most everyone was having a challenge keeping up. And then now hearing from the community, I think it's pretty clear we need to take a little more time with this. I would recommend that we don't just have an open-ended ending, and that we have a time frame for wrapping this up. If it's, 2 or 3 months from now, I don't know what that time frame would be, but I guess that's something for us to discuss, but I'm in support of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Caitlin, I think you were next.
Yeah, so I really appreciate the comments from the public. I really do have to agree with Roxanne, though, that it's a false economy to but I don't know if I'm agreeing with you when I say this, but I would say it's a
It's
false
okay, you can
economy.
agree with me.
No, I actually don't. When I say it, I don't think you're gonna say that I'm agreeing with you. I think it would be a false economy to table our consultants that we have a contract on, because think about it. Someone that has to take notes, or we have a recording, and then they're watching the recording to see what happened at a meeting that they could have been in the first place. Like, there's not an actual economy in that. And so I think I don't think we're there yet, but I am actually, I think first off, it's great to see this much public participation, and you don't get to this level of public participation until you're actually pretty close. Right? Because like, did you see this level of public participation 9 months ago? Nope, 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 nope. So you actually have to be at a place where you have a substantive draft to actually have those conversations. So I don't think that this is a bad thing. If there were not timelines, people would not feel compelled to participate. Right? Like, if you all knew if it was gonna last for the next 3 years, would you be here tonight? Probably not. Right? And so I think it's a situation where we can take some more time. I would recommend we do it with the consultants. That would be my preference, because like I said, I don't want our staff time, which is a cost to the taxpayer, to be then updating a consultant who's now also spending time listening to the update when they just could have been at the meeting. Because I think, to Ann's point, is that I think we need a general target. And probably a couple of months, I think, would probably be a really reasonable thing to do. I would also like to, because I already, coming into this meeting, I wanted to check on availability. The Board of Zoning Appeals had their meeting canceled on Wednesday, the 19th. And so I was gonna propose that, and I've checked with town hall staff, with the consultants, to see if, the board would be open to having, the committee would be open to having an open house. Basically replay the Racker Center open house at town hall. And I'm really glad that we went to Racker, because I think it was important to have geographical diversity. But I think a large segment of the public, in addition to those who are gonna wanna read the whole document, I think where the real meat of the comp plan lies in the objectives and goals section. And that was, I thought, really well prepared. We just had low attendance at the Racker Center, and I think bringing it back into the village might help enable more participation, because I don't know that we'd be able to do that. We can check on that.
Wednesday's usually their training,
Yeah.
not to interrupt.
And the school, there's a conflict of the school, so we
Yeah,
checked that,
school-
but I think we could do it. No, the school had a conflict.
Oh,
So I was actually thinking at town hall, in different locations throughout town hall, to have different stations would be a functional option. I just think that would provide an opportunity for the public to come in, and we could talk, we could have the future land use map up there. We'd have dialogue. So for those who are people, that would still give people time to continue to review the actual document, the full document. But where we'll really have conversation is in those goals and objectives. And I think it would be really good to have another opportunity for the public in a less or in a more engaging, back and forth environment to just discuss those things. So I'd like to throw that out there as a possible next step.
Okay.
What we say November? I was looking at November 19th.
I mean, I like that overall. I'm on the BZA, but when I heard the BZA was canceled, I made a commitment. So I think I'm unfortunately not available that day.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's why we have consultants.
Right.
yeah. And unfortunately, I can't make it, I'll be out.
I spoke already.
Maybe we, another day.
Same.
Yeah, so it was, I think I heard from the public unanimously to slow the process down. I think it would be good for us as a committee to hear from the consultant what it might look like to extend, what are we talking about in terms of costs, so that we are basing that on facts. I like the suggestion about us meeting without the consultant, so that we're not, building up costs, because I think there is some work. I know that the last meeting where we were supposed to go through chapters, we talked about process the whole time, and we didn't go through chapters. So I think we do, and I guess I like the idea of having another public meeting, but I heard enough about errors in the maps that I wonder how quickly we could turn it around, vet it as a committee, and then bring it back to the public. So my suggestion would be to push that out and give the committee time to absorb, regroup, get the comments back into the draft the way the committee wants it before we bring it back to that's where I'm landing right at the moment.
I'm gonna come back to that maps, but I
Yep.
want people to still talk about the timing in the open house, and then we're gonna vote. So we'll leave it to.
I wanna make my comment about maps then.
Okay,
I'll hold
yeah.
that.
I'm
Thank
coming
you.
back to maps. I
You
don't want
probably
to-
are gonna say what's thank you,
Yep.
so, what I would like to see, first of all, I just wanna say, it is disheartening that we've worked this hard, and unfortunately, we get to this point, and what we get really are the naysayers. I bet you, if anybody were to sit on this side of the table, it feels a little different. We've done a lot to get community engagement. We've had very little community engagement, and I just wanted to acknowledge that publicly, that we have done more than just send a postcard. So I just would like to make that public statement. What I would love to see is a motion to actually determine what the time frame is. Are you saying a month, 3 months, 6 months, or a year? That is a really big difference for a lot of these people that sit on this committee. And for my purposes, it would be really helpful if we could frame that piece first, because I think that that piece is going to sort of drive other decisions, in my opinion, of how we move forward.
Roxanne?
I agree that it would be good to set a time frame. I feel like 2 months is not enough because those 2 months are November and December, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And if we really want people to think we want them to come and we're listening, it's a very difficult time. People have so many scheduled engagements at that time of year. I just don't see 2 months, and in fact, probably people on this committee do. And so I don't see that as enough time at all, partly because of the 2 months that we are looking at right now. And so I guess I would propose or move, I don't know, that we I just put something out there, 4 months, so that we have time going into the next year, 4 or 5 months even at a maximum, so that we have time going into the next year, as Diane just said, to regroup for a little bit. Now we've been so just going on overdrive, and we now have just to speak a little bit to your frustration, Kim, several people contacted me and said that they had a really hard time with the chapters. They were really long, they were really difficult. It was extremely hard to see how they fit together. They didn't know how to participate or what to do. And so I think now that we have a full draft, and if we work on it some, that might be more approachable for people, just like our committee said. We need to see this all put together before we really can think about it. I think people I heard from really seemed that was an issue that came up regularly to me as I started shaking the bushes, trying to say we aren't getting enough public input and we really need some, so.
Caitlin,
Yeah.
Is 3 months acceptable financially? That's what I'm asking.
I don't know if we know that yet.
I think my estimation, knowing the budget is as deeply as I do, actually.
Right.
I think that would be reasonable based on my understanding of the parameter of the contract.
That's what I wanted to know.
The other thing too is, I don't disagree on, we'll get to the mapping and have that conversation, but having a public engagement on the goals and objectives, I don't think is a bad idea to do earlier rather than later. There could be multiple sessions, but I think the goals and objectives are really like, they're very tight and finite, and hearing that in very specific ways. I'm not saying that there might not be future conversation, but I actually would really like to hear what the public thinks on that right now.
Right.
We have it circulated, so I don't think we need to have, in my opinion, I don't think we need to have multiple meetings to talk about what is frankly more of the context, narrative context, than the goals and objectives. I think because we already did push those out to the public, and just trying to get more feedback in a new location, to me seems like low hanging fruit. If there's time to do it, and it's not a financial burden. So I would
Okay,
go
well,
that.
that's what I wanted to know,
Yeah.
because we're talking about months, so I know that it costs money.
It does cost money.
Okay,
Just to be fair, Carl or Allison.
I no, I
You
also,
don't have it.
well, I also agree that I do think that we need more time. It has been a lot pushed down. Also, to echo Kim's comments too, I mean, I need a time frame. I'm just talking from personal. I feel like the time frame's already been extended beyond what it was supposed to be. I'm concerned about cost. I'm concerned about public engagement. We're not gonna satisfy every group, and I'm just feeling that right now of there's gotta be an endpoint. There's gotta be a light at the end of the tunnel for Yeah,
Appreciate that.
but clearly we need more time. I am in full agreement of that.
Unfortunately, we coming up to the holidays, which is gonna
Yes,
take
which
up a
is
lot
good.
of time. So that's why I said 3 months
Yeah.
or more, because the next 2 months, we're not gonna have a lot of meetings. There's two major holidays and people are gonna be gone. So we might not even have a meeting for quite some time, which will give us time to read through this more and, look at it.
Carl, I'm not putting you on the spot, just
No, that's-
providing an opportunity for
No,
you to
I-
speak if you want.
You know, we
Okay.
finally started going to 2 meetings a month. I realize I'm probably the only guy in the whole group that can take whatever time I need to read it, to show up at a meeting or something like that, because I'm retired and I have no adult supervision at home, so I feel like. So that, I'm an oddball in that aspect. So I really, but
But I have a
You've
lot
got-
to do. I got a lot of
right. No, I adjust my schedule as needed. And so, we certainly, I think, at least one meeting or two meetings. Last night, the planning board met for an hour. And the only thing we talked about was the land use chapter. And I think it was good feedback there from the planning board members. The general agreement is, we like the way the new one is laid out. Because the old one that from 2009, where everything was painted ag green, except for a little bit around the village, it caused problems. And trying to figure out what to do. And they do have, totally ignored brand new water district and that sort of stuff that really surprised me. This ag zone and that sort of stuff was just updated last year or the year before, their 8-year cycle. They did absolutely nothing to account for places that have been in houses out around in the ag district. Most of these, that yellow that we keep getting complaints about and that sort of stuff, they were converted to houses 20 to 30 years ago. These are not new land divisions and that sort of stuff. And so I realize, and comments about your property not showing up as being an ag for Bob Howard. We took the data directly from the Tompkins County tax assessor. Kim's GIS division put it together for us. That's where the data came from that says it's a residential place instead of an ag place. We're trying everything we can to sort this out and that sort of stuff. Following Roxanne's comment, I deliberately drove out around Indian Fort and up 227 to figure out, these are big wooded lots and that sort of stuff, and the land along 227 is currently an ag, but there's also water through that district. Has been there a long time. How well that water line is maintained in that, there's some, I'm sure there's issues with it in
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But if we're going to try and slow down the amount of farmland that's getting sucked up as housing lots, we're going to have to do something to increase the density in areas that are already out of ag. I'm a newbie to the town. I've moved here in 21. I've lived all over the United States. So I have no connection. I have one tiny little lot on the lake down there. When I check out in a few years, my daughters will sell it and that'll be that. So I have no land to try and develop or anything else. I'm a sort of a bystander to decide to stick my nose in where I probably don't belong.
Nope, you are
But
encouraged
anyway,
to the
I
planning
think
board.
we need to take the time to go through, the board, just the group here discussing the comments we've had or issues that we think we have and that sort of stuff, and sort out among ourselves what we really want. And whether we use a consultant to keep track of the minutes of what we're changing and that sort of stuff, we'll work that out. But I think we do need to keep meeting at least once a month, even November, December. Your idea of a second one here with a date that's available to give the public, now that we've sort of got the public's attention, to give them, and I think if you want to direct it toward the goals and objectives, is probably the right way to do that. But then in January, I think we need to be looking at probably 2 meetings a month, and if it has to go into February, plan on 2 meetings a month to get this done and done. Because all the rest of you have working lives that you're dealing with. You know, I'm the one wacko that can do what I want. It's just.
Just, okay, Roxanne, and then I'm, oh, no,
You're gonna talk about maps?
I want, not now, we're gonna talk about maps in the comment draft.
Well, if you want to say something.
No, I just was gonna talk about timing and try to come to a
Oh,
resolution.
I was just going to propose or I move that this committee takes up to up to 3 months in 2026 to come, so 5 months from now, but this is understanding that this is 2 holiday months that we're partway into already.
Are you
So
talking
through the
about
end-
maximum 5 months?
Yeah.
Okay, but
3
it could
months
be
into
less.
2026, yes, a maximum.
31st.
Yeah, a maximum of 3 months to March 31st to continue meeting and come up with a draft that we have. Hopefully consensus on, but at least then vote on that we can pass on to the town board for recommendation. And so that's my motion.
Okay.
And then someone would have to second.
Yes, so,
To the
is there a second on Roxanne's motion to extend this to March 31st?
Well, I do have a
Diane,
question,
okay, comments now,
a comment.
Discussion.
You're saying 3 months, but what happens if we don't need the 3 months? Can we shorten it?
Well, I think I said a maximum.
A maximum, yes, but that doesn't mean that we can shorten it.
Well, but I mean, it would be a decision of the committee as we're talking. but
Okay,
People
okay.
wanted to know and a timeline, and so I
Okay.
don't see why we couldn't shorten it. And I also, just since we're in the discussion now, I can envision that we might even have, a subcommittee or subcommittees of people that want to work on particular things and then bring that to the full committee if people feel like they can't go to every meeting. But yeah, so that's my motion. And
so there's a motion and a second on the table, we're discussing.
Sorry, who's the second?
Second was Diane. And that motion is to extend this committee, and we'll work with MRB. To extend this no later than March 31st of 2026.
our committee's work, not the whole end of it with the town board and everything. Right, okay. Just wanted to make sure that was clear. Yeah,
Do you have the town, the CPSC? Yep. CPSC.
right. CPSC.
Okay,
I've never gotten that.
so with that motion on the table in second, I'm gonna take a vote. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And sorry, Ann, you're texting me. She's an aye.
It just says I, yeah.
Caitlin, I don't know if you want to vote, we just voted unanimously. Yeah, that's fine, extend up to March 31st. Sure. That sounds great. I would also, so now that we have a time frame. Public, please continue to provide input. It's 5 more months. I would like to make a motion to hold an open house. And I understand the holidays, but I think this is very important that we get the feedback earlier than later. So I would propose to have an open house on November 19th. Sorry, I'm looking at the calendar.
You moving that?
So I'm making a motion to hold an open house on November 19th
I'll second.
here at the town hall.
I'll second that.
Discussions?
Done.
Understanding that, I mean, we want everybody here, but I think we need to hear from people as opposed to have.
As long as there are some community members there.
I can do it.
I know, Carl.
He has no supervision.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're having discussion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is going to be presented at that meeting, because I agree with Diane's comment that there's been a lot of comment here on the land use map. I've continued to raise that as some of my high level concerns that I really like more discussion on. And I don't think we've ever really decided as a committee, yes, this is what we agree on to put forward. And so I do not think we have time to do that on November 19th. And so I would oppose having the future land use map that's currently drafted at that open house, because we don't have agreement on it.
But I mean, we're still getting public feedback on it, so that would be the time to get their feedback before we have MRB do 3 versions of that map. So to me, this is the time to get their input taken into consideration in addition to our comments on this committee
So
and
maybe
get another revision.
if we
So-
can have a, whatever, a disclaimer or notice there that this is being discussed, this
Yep.
has not been advocated by the committee.
So what I would recommend, and just from my personal perspective, what I see from the November 19th open house would be similar to what we had at Crackers. But hopefully more people will attend, where we have the future land use map. We can use that version. People can mark it up, comments, put sticky notes, whatever we want to do. And then also have the goals, objectives, and policies. If folks have comments on the meat or the descriptions of the elements, I think that's something we can obtain either in this meeting or written comments. So that would be my recommendation. And Diane, then you're next.
I just want to mention, I don't know how we will be promoting that event. But when we received the postcard, and we've had lots, I think, of comments about, the postcard and the tiny font and all that, and it's not super engaging. The day that we received that postcard, we had a second postcard. I don't know if everybody got this, but there was another postcard to kind of vote on the park, the new piece of land there with the park. I think those are 2 really good examples of what's engaging and what draws people in to make them want to participate, to really make them feel like, they want to engage with that piece of mail. So I think it's just a great example. So I would like to just suggest that we do, if we're going to do another mailer for this open house, if there's going to be some kind of outreach by mail, that it looks a little more like the other one that had, the picture, and it was just a little more engaging. And I can provide that example if somebody wants to see it and they haven't seen it yet.
On behalf of my deputy who designed that one, I'll make sure to tell her thank you.
Yes,
And
please do. It was
clarify,
great. I
just
like
to
immediately
clarify.
scanned it. Yeah, it was so obviously better that my spouse even, if you knew my spouse, you'd be like shocked to hear this. My spouse even commented and noticed. So it's like
I will pass that on
All right. All right.
it
Thank
was
you,
well
Diane.
done.
Yeah, a couple things. I guess, yeah, would we send another postcard out? We'd have to get that out like tomorrow, like pretty soon,
I don't
right?
think there'd be time.
Right, so that's, it's
It's
2
2
weeks,
weeks from today.
it's 2 weeks from today, so is it a postcard and then, I guess, and then what's the information that's presented? I heard someone say that we somehow pushed out the goals and objectives, so is that in a separate document? Like, I need clarity about where that is and how that's accessible. And is that what we would focus on? Because I also heard, that as far as the maps, which I think are really important, like that's a really great visual thing for people to respond to. And even if there's a disclaimer next to it, I thought what Carl was saying about how have things actually changed? I think it would be really helpful to have, this is 2009, this is what's actually happening in reality, and these are the proposed changes, like some sort of progression of visual for me, because I look at this and I can't tell what to compare it to. So I'd like to see layers, but that's not gonna happen, I don't think, within 2 weeks, or maybe it is, I don't know.
So I would just to respond to the objectives, I'm suggesting that we actually, when the open house was held at Racker, the different sites had the different objectives already. So that's what I was saying, that's been pushed out.
Right.
So
I see.
I'm
Yep.
saying, bring those materials back at a new location. I don't think realistically we'll do a mailing for it. I mean, I can certainly talk to Chris about a timeline for doing that. But our newsletter is incredibly well distributed to over 1,000 property or 1,000 addresses. I have heard directly from our constituents for months about they read it. So I think we're posters around town, making sure the village knows about it, pushes out in their newsletter, the town pushes out in their newsletter. I think that if we can push out in our own networks, that really helps also. Town has a Facebook page. So I think we have a lot of reasonably affordable and rapid ones as well. And we could even talk about putting an advertisement in the Free Press, something like that. Those are all kind of like low hanging fruit. It does get expensive to do many mailings. So that's some place to have a little bit of cost savings, and I think that there's some. And it doesn't, I'm not suggesting this event on the 19th is like the be all and end all by any stretch. I'm just saying this seems like something we could do, and if we got 25 more people, that's 25 more people who probably haven't participated. I don't think that's a bad, a goal.
Uh,
Did you,
I have a.
on this topic?
On this topic.
Okay.
The political signs. You know, those, how, are those expensive to have printed up? No, they are.
They're not
Especially in
cheap.
small numbers.
Oh, okay, well, no, the reason I ask is because if you distribute them to a bunch of people, like I put one on my property, everybody would put them on their property, at least people would see it, and all it would have to say is open house, you know, where and what time.
We can look to that, that's a good idea.
I mean, we can put them all over as well, I know
People
the
love them.
expense.
People love them.
Oh, would it be to just reuse all the political signs that?
Well, yeah, I was thinking of that too, spray
just
paint
spray
them and
paint
then print them out again.
You can't have mine. That's right.
All right, so we have a motion on the table for an open house on the 19th. We have a second. Is there any more discussion on this item specifically for the open house? How we advertise it, we can talk about separately. Niels?
Can I get a friendly amendment to specify the time?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't go into that details.
It would just have to be Racker, 4
to 7. So we caught folks that were early, but then we caught people getting out of work too, or we tried to. In there, we tried. I think 4 to 7 seems reasonable to me. So I'll make a motion to just, do I have to amend mine? Amend my motion,
Oh, but
friendly amendment to include a time from 4 to 7. I'll second that. Okay. Any more discussion on this open house?
Yeah, I just wonder, I thought Diane's suggestion was really intriguing and a lot of the people here really spoke to that and understanding the changes and to the map. And so I'm just wondering, I know the motion is for the 19th, but you know, we have a meeting, like, what if we did it the first week in December, right after Thanksgiving? And perhaps then there'd be enough time to prepare what she just said, the visual of these things, and get that input from the public, which seems to be something that's a strong issue that needs discussion and contention here. Just throwing it out there as a thought, because I think getting that input sooner rather than later would be great, and to keep working on that, because it's a very key thing that we've really heard and have had written comments submitted also. And members of this committee have wanted to talk about it, so I think that I'm just proposing maybe we consider, I mean, we have a meeting on December 3rd already
Well,
scheduled.
Not yet,
It's on maybe it's something
Well,
that
we
got
could
sent
talk
on the calendar.
but
Okay, I thought we did based on what was sent out, maybe not, but we could, you know, then see if more people could be there since this is short.
well, you
notice.
could also
Seven
make it
people
on the
aren't there.
3rd here during the meeting, another open house.
Another one.
so
besides on the
my
19th?
reasons,
Yeah,
just,
have it twice.
Well, you
we
want
have a motion on the table for the 19th right now, sorry, just. I watched the video on Robert's rules. You're welcome.
Right.
It's in my head. And just to clarify, one of the reasons why I'm proposing 2 weeks from now to take advantage of the zoning board not having a meeting, but we have people's attention right now. So I think personally that we need to keep this going and do this now. We can always have more, like we said, if we have up to March 31st, we can have one every month if we want to. But that was my motivation for recommending 2 weeks from tonight, was to keep the momentum going, public input and the public's interest that we have right now. So that's. Any other discussions? If not, we can go to a vote for right now. We're gonna looking to schedule a open house here at Town Hall on November 19th from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock to review the goals, objectives, policies in the future land use map. All those in favor? Aye. All those again opposed? Okay.
I'm opposed to.
Okay. So it passes I don't even know how many people I have. Sorry, I was just, I
Opposed, Roxanne. And Diane.
and Diane, and then 1, 2, 3, 4,
I don't know.
5,
Ann
6,
voted.
you voted yes. 7, 8, 9. I can show you, it's.
I just didn't know she voted.
Okay, so. We have now a time frame to kind of work within. We have an open house. I think we should discuss the next meeting, but just knowing it's almost 7 o'clock, I do want to also make sure we're gonna hear from Matt in a second. But should we discuss the next meeting now? Or should we after the drafts? Just looking for thoughts.
We don't have, oh, that's right, we don't have any others. Get to the meeting.
As of right now, I think the December 3rd was always just sitting there from the first
On
Monday
the
or Wednesday of
calendar,
every
yeah,
month.
it was put out.
So,
Yeah.
I recommend going to the next week. I think coming off the Thanksgiving break, or not Thanksgiving break, but like Thanksgiving holiday. I would say to go to a following after that.
So that would be
That would be the third.
10th.
No,
Tenth, oh, you're talking another.
The week after the, yeah.
no, so not the Wednesday immediately after the holiday, because I bet just coincidentally, you probably are hanging out with your
Oh, yeah,
families
that's right,
talking
that's right,
about,
right. No,
um,
very, I didn't realize that.
Okay,
So the 10th would be better, yeah.
all right, and that would give folks time to really dig into this document, as well as give MRB some good time to consolidate all the comments so that we can have a real good discussion. So I'll make a motion to move our next meeting to December 10th, 2025 at 5 o'clock.
Well,
Second from Mo. Any discussion? No? All right, all those in favor? Aye. And all those opposed? Okay, I got you, Ann. All right, so now that we have kind of the next meeting scheduled, Matt, you've been sitting here and we haven't even gotten to you yet. But appreciate you being here. Do you want to provide us some updates on where we are with the draft, what version we have in front of us?
Sure.
How things were updated from the 1017 version?
Sure, and I appreciate, I'm ecstatic about the level of participation tonight. It's good to hear, and it certainly is valued. The committee did, is that me that makes that?
No,
it's us,
the
Oh.
people, because the mics are here.
Oh, sorry.
Did any noise?
Oh.
Did it?
The committee did, I think, a yeoman's effort at providing some additional comments. We appreciate that. We got the vast majority of them by the closing credits of 60 minutes, which enabled Jessica to go right to work on Monday morning and analyze kind of what came out of that. I'll note, I just want to make sure that no one's comments are being discounted. I want to make that clear. On the calendar, on the time frame that the town and this committee selected, we had to find a way to prioritize time, right? And so in dealing with how do we prioritize time, what we wanted to understand was what are groups of this committee most concerned about? Like, what are the parts of this plan that groups of this committee are most concerned about? There's 11 committee members. I personally felt like 6 was a mountain to climb, but 6 is a consensus of the committee, right? I thought that was a mountain to climb. So literally the way I came up with 3 was I cut 6 in half and just said, all right, if half of what a traditional consensus of this committee would be is concerned about something, we need to prioritize that for discussion. Jessica took that advice, took that direction, and consolidated the comments from the committee, where we found that no comment received 3. No comment received 3 endorsements. And I know exactly where you're going, and you expressed it well in your.
Thank you. I'd like the public to hear it.
Yes, and so at the last committee meeting, when we were looking at accelerating the review of the draft, what the committee agreed to was, hey, if you don't have the opportunity, or if you don't feel like you have the time to review the full draft, pick the chapter that you feel most concerned about or that you feel most connected to and review that hard. And so everybody did. And so certainly there would be committee members who didn't review the full draft or didn't have time to review the full draft. And then there would be committee members who read more than one chapter. And so we did get some feedback that received more than one comment. So we consolidated that to prioritize it. But we also just listed all the comments. So we have that. We don't feel comfortable making changes to the draft based on one person's remark, right? And so that doesn't make sense, because to your point, we'll change it, and then a person over here will say, well, I didn't think we should change that. Well, okay, well, let's go back to ping pong, right? And so with the additional time that we have ahead of us, what I would encourage you all to do is to make another run at reading some additional chapters over and above what you've already done. Would be fantastic if everybody could read it front to back. Carl, you want to start that?
Can you get the company that allowed comments to be recorded directly in there to do that again on the current one?
That was super.
Because the 31st, I didn't see any way to incorporate comments like we did from the 17th. You know, they opened, the people that put the document together opened up a PDF. Jessica sent out the link for us so that you could actually go in and put your comments directly in there, so that you have them all together and people reading it can see what's already been put in as comments and that sort of stuff.
And Jessica even noted an additional option that will be, we will do that, right, Jessica? We can do that. We will do that and make promises that Jessica can't keep.
Just one question about that. So Jessica, when you do that, are you gonna take the existing one with our comments and just reopen that so that the comments that we've already made, we don't have to re-comment?
So the link for this last one that you did will always be there. I'm just gonna create a new link. So you'll have.
So it'll build upon what we already did.
Yes, you just won't see it all in the same draft because we have a new updated draft.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Is there any way, I'm just thinking this through from the technology standpoint, so, is there any way to reopen that? Because, for example, I went hard on 3 chapters, right? So now I'm gonna step out of those 3, not gonna go back to those. I've already said my piece there, and I'm gonna go hard on other chapters, but I'd like to see who of my committee members already did that, what they thought. And if I get a blank slate, for example, then I won't have that. Am I making sense?
Right?
Yeah, and I think that is along some of my concerns, and maybe you address this a little bit by saying if there's only one comment, we're not incorporating it, which makes sense, but I feel like I've made some of the same comments at least 2 or 3 times, and they never get acknowledged, and I make it again, and it's still not there. So I think we need to have a process to make sure everybody's considering, because I think maybe it's that one of our comments is not supported, but maybe it's just that nobody else has thought about it, considered it, and they would agree if they consider that issue.
So Jessica, just a quick question. We do have a consolidated list of all of the comments on this last draft, correct?
So it's difficult to export PDF comments, but yes, we have it all. It's just we won't be able to necessarily so what you can do as a middle ground, right? So this latest draft is essentially more formatted. Highland Planning did a lot of work. There were some slight modifications, right? So you could always use that as your reference, but you could continue to make your draft comments on this previous draft that we did, that draft 5 that you guys made your 300 comments. There's that option too.
If we use that option, we would be able to see the existing comments within that document, because I think that was one of the things I messaged back to you. I was like, I appreciated the list of comments, but then I was like, wait, comment here, reference back to page 300, and you know what I mean? That was cumbersome versus just the comments were built within the same doc.
Sending a link to the prior draft.
Yep.
We'll have all 300 of those comments active, and you will have the ability to build on those.
I don't want to speak for the committee, but that would make me happy.
In my mind, that would be awesome to
Yes.
be able to work on that same
Yes.
piece so that it doesn't feel like I'm going back and making the same comments on what I've read. And even if I could just like other people's
Well,
comments.
that's what I was gonna say. That's another
Like,
option that you
yeah,
can do. yes.
exactly, we could do that. And to
Yeah.
Allison's point, the committee members, obviously, we've divided, and a lot of people spend a lot of time taking a deep dive. Liz might think of something that I wouldn't have thought of, and it's gonna bring me out of the box and go, oh, what a really good comment.
Right.
And if it's not there, so thank you.
Yes, so
That would be
we
ideal.
will provide that. You can jump in there. We'll take a thumbs up as this is an issue of mine too. This is an issue of mine too. Yes, ma'am.
Can you, thank you for all this. Can you and Jessica explain, it's never been clear to me between what we commented on 1017, 300, the 300 comments,
Yeah.
and what we got on 1031. Did you make edits in response to those comments, or was that just changes in formatting? And if there were edits in response to comments, are those tracked somewhere, those particular ones?
If I understand it, and I probably don't, but if I understand it, the difference between those was grammar, typography, and format.
Right,
Is that-
because
yes?
we were hoping to give you a well-presented draft with graphics. And so to do substantial modifications plus ask Highland to do graphics was a lot for them with a short period of time.
So to your question, if you had hey, this word was misspelled, or that's Indian River Road, not Indian River Street, then that was likely fixed between those two drafts. But if it was, I disagree with how this was presented, or I don't like the fact that this is now low density residential versus ag, none of those changes were made. So don't feel like you're going to be commenting on something that has been addressed, and don't feel like you've been ignored. Just effectively, one of the things that the supervisor gave us good guidance on is like, hey, we want to see an evolution of the format of this document, as things keep moving, so we can understand better how the public will engage with this. And so, to Jessica's point, he spent the bulk of the time, again, given that we didn't have, for lots of reasons, we didn't have consensus on policy level changes. We just spent the bulk of our time doing the typographical updates, grammar updates, format, and visuals.
So then I would recommend, Jessica, if you could do the link to that version 1017 that had the comments, as well as the clean version, because some people might want to review a clean version, some people might want to do, if you provide us both.
Right.
Yeah.
And then,
Liz, can I ask a technical question really quick? So Jessica, just to clarify, because this is what I was angsting over when I was emailing you. So when I click on comments, it says no permissions. Basically, you close the comments and then you're gonna reopen them, so we'll be able to see them again. Because I just tested it again and we don't have permission to see those comments for that 1017 draft.
Right. Are you using the PDF or are you?
I am.
That's
I'm
fine.
using the
I've
PDF,
had
yeah.
problems with the PDF as well, so I would suggest you use the direct link to that we originally gave you.
Oh, instead of going to the CPSC directory,
Yeah.
open the PDF. Thank you. I gotcha. I'm gonna go check
We
that
can
right now.
resend that link.
I think I might have it. I guess, yeah, that's it right now.
I tried to.
So I think people we do well when we have deadlines, even though this puts, stress. I would recommend that we set a deadline of 60 minutes on the 23rd of November to get comments in, because I understand that will be more than 2 weeks. It's 2.5 weeks of time. If people discover that they need more time, but I think it's really important that we are continuously, 5 months will go by very fast with the holidays in the middle, unless we are consistently setting goals and meeting them. People did a great job hitting the goal of 60 minutes previously. So I would like to propose that as a possible date to get further comments in and be sure to review other people's comments.
I missed the date. My brain was somewhere else.
It's Sunday, the 23rd.
Monday, the 23rd.
Before Thanksgiving. so
Yes,
that
before
nobody-
Thanksgiving, not anything over the holiday, then you can just bore your family and friends with it. See if you can get them to come to future open houses. But,
Jessica, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna throw that out as a possible date target.
Jessica, can you remind me and us the table that just has policies, goals, objectives? Which appendix is that?
That is Appendix A. That's the first one.
Appendix A. So everybody processes the information in different ways. Everybody prioritizes the processing of information in different ways. I would suggest that if your eyes go blurry at page 80 of the comprehensive plan document, that you press pause and just dive into that table, because it literally lays out every goal, every objective, every policy. And as the supervisor pointed out, those are the critical areas. If those aren't right, the rest of this plan is not right. And so making sure to, if you want to even first prioritize paying attention to just those and highlighting those, it can serve as a good reference for you to say, hey, policy number 5 under objective number 1, land use stinks. I better go read what the comp plan actually says about that. And so it can be a little bit of a navigator for you. Just a suggestion, if you're overwhelmed, as I certainly would be and am by 300 pages of reading, that's a nice tight presentation of the goals and objectives.
Just one observation, there are a few pages shifted a little bit between the 17th and the 31st. Like page 63 is probably now 65 or something like that. Because I had cut and pasted a lot of the comments that I considered the significant ones, and I went back to try and compare them to the 31st version, and I couldn't find them on that page number. So be aware that there is, when they cleaned it up and Highland did everything to clean up the presentation, it forced moving a page here and there. So between the two, there's going to be a little bit of that.
So more reason to hang it if you're doing policy level commentary. That 17th draft is the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's the one we should be making comments in. I would just suggest that.
Yeah. 17th. Okay. Do we have?
Oh, I just had a question with what we're going to do with this. So then we have all these comments and then we're gonna talk about them at a meeting, like what are we gonna do with them? Okay. So I would just like to throw out as an alternative that they're due sometime in the week, since they don't really have to process anything, just open it up and let us do it. That we have a bit more time, since this has just been a lot. And we can set the time sometime that first week in December, since our meeting is now the second week in December. And some of us may have had things scheduled that preclude us being able to spend many hours reading this on in a 2-week time frame. Again, we just didn't, have the preparation for that. So
Well,
I would like, you don't have to do it on the weekend, right after Thanksgiving, but there's a whole week there. It could be the 5th of December or the 6th.
I still want
or
to make
the
sure that
7th,
they have
because-
time to,
But what, they're not doing
they
it.
still have to compile them.
They're just happening on the.
No.
After
So
that, aren't they?
I mean, we'll have
That's a
to.
good question.
We'll have to just, that's a great, I saw where your head was going, I think it bears some more discussion, but. Even with 5 months, 2 months of which, 1 month of which will be gone, because we won't be back here till the 10th. But so even with 5 months, you don't have time to. Hit pixels, you're still gonna have to prioritize, we're still gonna have to get to some definition of consensus level priorities. Not for us to exclusively focus on, but for us to resolve to resolve from 8 people have a problem, now 6 people have a problem, now 2 people have a problem, now 1 person has a problem. That's the order I would suggest you working in. With that process understood, Jessica will need time to consolidate those themes, right? And so the 30th, if anybody wants to, I'd be hiding from my family, but if the 30th, if anybody wants to hide from their family and process this, great. But much deeper into that week, that first week of December, and we're not going to be in here prepared to talk about what were the consensus level of discussions.
Well, and that's what I'd like to do, because if Diane and Roxanne and I all agree that this one comment, that's three of us agreeing, then we're gonna see that incorporated in a draft, and they need time to take our comments and actually incorporate them, because I would like to see on December 10th, to be able to start working again on that revised draft that did incorporate comments, because we do not have time to sit in meetings and negotiate every single point. We need to use this, in my opinion, we need to use this efficiently, because if I can thumbs up something you already said, that's me agreeing. That's somebody else agreeing, right? Like, and that to me at that level gets incorporated. And then perhaps you have a method of flagging that for the rest of the committee of where these incorporated changes happen. That would be really helpful to have prior to the meeting on the 10th. You're like, okay, here's a revised draft, and you're going to flag for us the places you changed, because enough of 3 people or more agreed that this needed to be resolved in that spot. I think that will move us functionally forward in discussion using 21st century technology.
So if you're going to go that route, I would suggest we raise the bar for consensus for actual changes to the document. It should be 6.
As an alternative expansion on that, but a somewhat alternative idea, my concern is that is not enough time for all of these people to read all of the chapters that they didn't read and have all of their comments in. It's just a, with lives and jobs and things you might have had scheduled. And so what if we pick whatever, 3 of the chapters or 4 of the chapters and say, by this date, everybody will have read those chapters. And then we could work on them. And then the next time, everybody will have read these chapters, and then we do that.
That's what we did up to this point.
Right.
And so I think that's
No,
what I'm
but we
getting
didn't-
frustrated, we go through this process and
No,
they give
that's-
us chapters and we were supposed to comment on them.
I'm suggesting something slightly different, because now what we did before was have one person maybe read them, maybe 2 people read them.
No, she's talking about the earliest drafts.
For the process, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we've been doing.
Because we've been reviewing these drafts since June.
Yep.
Right, but so now we have something different. Now we have it all assembled together. This committee said they wanted to see it assembled together so they could think about it well. Now we have it assembled together to think about, well, you have that matrix of all the policies and objectives and all. Now we're trying to take that assembled document and hone it down and make sure, we're in enough consensus agreement, or everybody's concerns that are not, editorial or very, low level can be discussed. And so in order to do that, everybody needs to read everything. And so, which is different because it's now assembled. And now we know our task is to read everything. So I'm suggesting that it's more approachable and manageable as a person with a job and a family and a life and things to say 4 chapters, 3 chapters, whatever, are done and everybody agrees to read them, and then we'll talk about them. And then the next ones, everybody agrees to read, and then we talk about them.
So that's 2 extra meetings, just continuing to talk. And I'm not saying that's not important, but that's just 2 meetings right there that we're already in January, because we're not gonna have a second meeting in December with the holiday. So that means we're not even getting to a comprehensive place until beginning of January. That's cutting into our March timeframe.
I have a question.
Just putting that out.
Technology is wonderful. So I know this is gonna be ridiculous, but the comp plan we have right now, the one that we got, the last one on the PDF. Is there any way to either do by page or by, I see like, it would say number 1 comprehensive plan or whatever, where you can put a section where we can just put our thumbs up. So we don't have to go back to it again. If everybody puts their thumbs up on that and there's no comments, that's the end of that page.
So here's per page.
Yes, because that way we go through it, this page is fine, this page is fine, everybody says it's fine, we don't have to go through it 1,000 times. Because it seems like we're gonna go through it 1,000 times.
Well, some people have already read, right? So the people who've read chapters are gonna now go back and reread or rescan and re-thumbs up. To Carl's point, now we got a new draft that we're looking at. Are we talking about page 65 was good in the 1017 draft or the 1031 draft?
If you keep it, if we're keeping this particular draft that we got the last one, if we can just comment on each page, say, yes, this one's fine, we don't have to go through it again. That way, when we have our meeting, we only pick the pages or the sections that we really have to look at.
We do it by section.
Hmm?
Can we do it by section?
So we did it by chapter.
We did chapter.
We did it by chapter and we
I
got.
know, but
Pages, I feel like.
I know
No,
it's ridiculous, but it seems like when we go through a chapter, we start from the beginning of the chapter, go to the end of the chapter. If there was only one page in that chapter, we would just concentrate on that one page. We don't have to look at the rest of it. Because we're doing that, even when we did it on last night, we were
Yeah.
going through, the whole thing again.
Okay.
So if there's a page that's good, just mark it good. Everybody marks it good and we don't go back to it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think just as far as process, I mean, Roxanne, I don't think you really mean like we need to reread the chapters, right? I think like what we're all concerned about is like, every time somebody makes a comment, what is that comment doing? Is that being changed? Does somebody agree with that? Do we need to have a debate about that? Like, I guess like my brain has been exploding in like how the process is actually happening. And then when we do get like so many drafts, and then we are rereading it, and then we are, so like, that's why I thought at some point, like appreciate like the grammar and the graphics like being automatically changed by you guys. But then like, is there something that is very important like to the community, right? Like that we've heard today that we need to discuss, like kind of like what Roxanne is saying. So that we don't keep getting these chapters over and over again because everybody has another comment because their comment wasn't heard from the last time. Like we just keep going in this like cycle.
I think that
And
was.
it's like,
Well, that's
What I
what I meant. Once everybody agrees on it,
but
that's it.
still, we're not like doing that debate or the talk or like this comment has been talked about and 5 people said yes or something.
Okay, so it's 7:16, the
Yes,
last
I know.
one. I think what I would like to see is folks, you've already read it. We should be looking. A lot of people have read it.
Okay, but everybody
A
has.
lot of people have read it.
Could we ask if everybody's read it
No.
fully and
Well,
able to comment on it?
I don't know if that's, we have 2 more weeks. It was supposed to be done tonight. We have crazy, but it was what the committee had decided on. So what we're gonna do now is we have 2 additional weeks, 2.5.
3, why don't we move it to, I would make a motion with the deadline to the 30th.
Okay.
That
So
gives
we have
3.5 weeks.
3 weeks. What I would like to see is everybody go in and review the comments from the old one that you made. If they have to get carried over to the new one, then do it. But also provide feedback, like even some of the ones that when I was reviewing, if I agreed with somebody's comments, I agreed with it. I said, I agree, or why don't we do this? So then on the 10th, when we get back in front with you, tell me if this is too much. We have a revised document with a lot of those comments addressed and incorporated so that we have like a real good updated draft, not just with the infographics.
So let me offer friendly amendment.
Yep.
As someone not even at the table. You're going to you should go to the link that Jessica sends. That's going to be to the 1017 draft. You're gonna click on that link and you're gonna do whatever your heart desires. If you want to read from page 1 to page 280, great. You want to read just the chapters you're excited about, great. Offer all of your comments. I propose and encourage you to debate swiftly, the notion that if a majority, which in this case would be 6, if any comment receives 6 endorsements, thumbs up, I agree, blah, 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 we will make that change. Because Jessica's concern, because I'll stand here as the face, but Jessica's the actual editor. Jessica's concern is, I don't know what to do with these comments.
Right.
One person said this, or two people said that. What do you want me to do with that? So I think you do have to make a decision about what to do with that. And I would encourage you to say, if a majority of the committee agrees or endorses a given position, we will make that change. And the rest of them will still be there. So if your change didn't get made, so on December 10th, prior to December 10th, you will receive a draft of a new draft with the substantive changes that
Will it be track change, so we can see them within that doc?
we'll figure out a way. We'll figure out a way to either track change it or just provide you a list, right? To say, these are the substantive changes that have been made to this document. Even if it's just a Word document that's a list, on page 63, we modified this to that, right? But ideally, we'll shoot for a track change so you
Yeah.
can see it. The problem with track change is some people read it and love it and fall in love with the edit, and some people are like, I still don't know what this document is. It's still a monster to me.
Right, I'm just saying, it depends, I think we all process differently. For me, if the track changes are in the same document, that's easiest versus opening a document and going back to page 67, but that's me.
Jessica, do you know what the program in Highland uses? Is it InDesign?
Yeah.
Because that's I don't know if you can do track changes in InDesign. That's the
Oh,
only thought.
well, thank you, I did not know that, so, and I didn't even know that's what they were using, so ignore what I said then, except to say bummer. Because that would have been.
We'll create an index of changes.
Okay.
I have a question. So I have an email from Jessica, which was 10:31. Is that the link we're going to?
Don't worry with it. Jessica's gonna send you.
Okay.
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 Start fresh.
Okay.
So
That's all. I
you're gonna
wanted.
click on that link that Jessica sends you. You're gonna do whatever you want to do. You're gonna read it start to finish,
And it'll
whatever.
have the comments that are already,
It will have the comments that are already in there.
and are we instructed to?
I just wanna ask this, okay, I'm gonna throw this out, because here's where I think the problem is. Who was working on Sunday almost up to the deadline? I'll raise my hand. Anybody else, right? If you're writing your own comments, you can't comment on anybody else's comments. Right? Like, because their comment might not be there yet. Because it's all up to the deadline. So what about, you have to put in your comments by, let's look at the calendar. You put your comments in, I would even give a little bit more time than that.
Okay.
I would say you have to get your comments in by, well, Thanksgiving's the 27th. You have to get your comments in by the 26th. Your comments, you're gonna write your comments in there by Thanksgiving Eve. But then you have until the 30th to click everybody else's.
To see everything else.
Right, because at that point you shouldn't be reading the document at that point. You should be reading the comments.
That's a good.
I like that.
Thank you for catching that. That would have been.
Because I'm your person who's very up to the last minute and then.
Okay, so everybody, I don't know if we need to make, we're gonna make our comments, any remaining ones on chapters we didn't review or refocus on what we've done before by the 26th. And then pencils down on new comments, more or less. And then by the 30th, you can go through and review everybody else's comments.
Because if you wanted to somebody else's comment to actually get done, we're gonna need the additional thumbs
need
up
time.
and that sort of stuff to get us up to the 6.
Right.
Yes.
And if you get it done earlier, kudos to you.
So of course, you're gonna send out an email with all those timelines.
Yes,
So then Jessica,
that's why we.
Jessica will produce our team, led by Jessica, will produce a clean draft and an index of substantive changes for your review by that Friday.
That would be.
Okay.
Can we also do like? So I like the idea of like the 6, but like to make sure everybody's comment is heard, and if they think there's a level of discussion that needs to be more than just a like. Could we like color code or something, so that we know that that's the topic we're gonna discuss on the 10th? And
So
you're not gonna do anything with comment, like changing it, Cause that might be up for.
So you're saying 5 or fewer? 5, if we
Yeah,
got to
like,
5 or
right, so
fewer.
that's not floating out there hanging or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
What about 3 to 5? If something got 3 to 5, no, I'm serious. 3 to 5 isn't a majority, but hey, it's a flag that maybe there's some value, maybe you could. These are the things that were changed, majority already agrees, we're settled effectively, followed by 3 to 5. 3 to 5, and if we wanna pull those out for further discussion, where the committee can go through and say no.
Right.
Like, I don't know if that's doable.
Is there? Well,
Why don't we
maybe.
see how? So my concern is just, actually, I'll get you in a second.
Just not working out.
Is that, thank you. We've given ourselves more time, but we have to use that time to our advantage. We can't just draw this thing out more. So I really like this idea of, I'm fine with 3 to 5, 6 is majority. But we need to make sure everybody does it, because if people aren't doing it,
So
And
if
it doesn't
if a
matter.
comment is made and 3 people agree with it,
then
Then it goes on a list so that the committee can see.
for
These were the
discussion.
changes.
It's not that you like
That
that, you
idea.
like the comment and recommend that be further discussed.
Right.
On the 10th.
yeah, that's a good idea, great.
Roxanne.
I was just wondering if we could, if people had high level, like what they really feel are high level concerns that they want discussed. They feel really strongly about that. You could write them in a document and send them in. I just feel like I don't particularly like the idea that if everybody can't get to it, we'll do our best. And 3 people don't say this is something that should be discussed. I think if any one person on this committee feels really strongly about something, it should be able to be heard and discussed. And that's why we're extending the timeline.
Well, to go back, just as a reminder. The biggest concern I have is just the time it takes to catalog the every single comment. So that 300 comment run, that took extensive time to pull out of the document and catalog it. The process we're going through of the committee, and I'll rib you a little bit. We're gonna bring a document in here on December 10th, right? You're gonna get it on probably the 7th or 8th, whatever the Friday is before the 10th, before the meeting.
6th or 5th.
Yeah, you're gonna get it on the Friday before the meeting. There's gonna be a list of substantive changes, which the diligence of this group could be substantial, right? We will not get through that review on the 10th. We won't. There will be, I would say this committee, there could be upwards of 25 to 50 changes that we're gonna walk you through in that meeting. That would require us to walk in, sit down, and open the document, which hasn't happened. And maybe shouldn't happen. Maybe that's not how you all want to operate. But typically what we do is we move through an order of business and then we sit down and we get at it. And then it's 7 o'clock and people gotta go. So on December 10th, we're gonna spend the entire meeting talking about what changes have been made to get us here. And there are gonna be a few people who dissent to the changes. And so we'll get into a spirited dialogue about that. And we'll say, well, we're not meeting again in December, so we'll have to come back in January. We're gonna come back in January and we're gonna finish that review in that first meeting. The second meeting in January is when we will bring the 3 to 5 comments in. And we will get through about a third of those in the second meeting in January. Then we'll go to the first meeting in February and we'll get through about a third of those, and then the second meeting in February. Along about that time, we'll be creating a new draft. There will be a February 1st draft, right? That new draft will land and we'll have a conversation like we had tonight about how to get to edits on that draft. And before you know it, we're at the second meeting in February. Now we're into March. And so you added 5 months to your timeline, and we said, well, maybe we won't even need that much time. We're going to be in January before we finish reviewing the next draft. That's just the nature of how committee work happens, right? And so I would say absolutely everyone's voice should count. Everyone who has an issue should be able to have it raised. but we have to have a prioritization to get to something meaningful.
What if
One
we just
thing-
try to look at, oh, I'm sorry,
I
I
was
should have
just-
raised my hand and not
You're
blurted.
fine. I just wanted to,
Yeah.
but I don't know who would answer me. Just to clarify, on the December meeting, we also have a public hearing, so just for the record.
Exactly. Yeah,
I
that's,
was gonna ask, do you want that to be just a hash out meeting, or do you also, for notification purposes, do you also want to have that be noticed as a continuation of the hearing
I think we need to continue.
that same day?
So I appreciate the timeline, because that I think is really important. I think it's essential that as we're going through this. And I think people will do this, but diligently look at what other people have said. The reality is, I can promise you, every single one of you is gonna make a comment that does not get 5 other people to agree with that. And we're just going to have to live at some level with that.
Oh, of course.
Right, so, but I think, and appreciating that, but then if you are thoughtfully taking the time to go through each other's comments and vote on them, then I frankly trust the consensus of the committee to start working towards, so we can start prioritizing it. There may be issues that we pick up, and I think there might be some technological ways that we could, outside of a meeting, review those 3 to 5 comments in a separate way, technologically, and be able to vote on whether or not we should prioritize that.
That would be
Because-
the one way to do it, to get it, because otherwise we're just going over and over the same thing.
Exactly, and so maybe that's how we handle the 3 to 5 outside, and maybe from that 3 to 5, we find a handful, 10%, 5%.
Yeah.
That really does actually rise to the surface that we want to discuss, but we will not have the ability. In any, like, we could spend the intent more than a year continuing, I mean, and I'm not being facetious, right?
You're right.
You drag that out.
mapped out 5 months worth. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so, I think it's really taking the time to look at other people's comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roxanne,
I do, I'm sorry, Roxanne, go ahead.
I remain opposed to the 3 to 5. I guess I'd like, what if everybody did say, here's my, 5 things that I think are high level. What if we all just looked at that? Maybe we could talk about that.
I think that's what
Again.
the supervisor would suggest.
No, she said 3 to, you keep coming back. I'm just confused and I apologize. I'd like clarity. You're talking about the 3 to 5 comments that people highlight as, yes, these should be talked about further when they have time to read everything. And if that is what is being proposed, I am making my objection to that. I would like the committee to be able to see the things that people feel are really high level and you've been bringing up, and as Karen said, and they're never talked about, and you keep bringing them up, like maybe people here have some of those things.
But why wouldn't you catch us in that first round of, like, every comment is gonna be in there, and people will have the opportunity at that first engagement to say, there it is, yes.
But what
I
if
do
you
agree with
think it's really important and 2 other people don't? You spent all that time and it should at least be able to be heard.
and
And
then
but
on the
but
next, we're reviewing everybody's comments. That's the intent of this next version.
And then if it doesn't, then I think if you still have that, say, if that didn't rise to the level, then I think obviously it still needs to be heard that next round. But I think.
Well, I didn't hear
And just-
mechanism for that.
Just to
so-
clarify,
Okay.
the likes are that you think that comment should be discussed.
Yeah.
So if there's 3 to 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 2,
even.
they can be discussed at different times in this priority triage of comments, so to speak.
We just have to
So
get
it's not
started
that
on
they're
the draft.
being ignored, it's just where we would talk.
We're gonna prioritize the comments that people make when a majority of the committee thinks that those are changes that should be. Yeah, that's where we're gonna start, and then we're gonna work our way down.
So I think your high level things will reach to that level as soon as people do the likes.
Cause I know a couple of yours, I agreed.
Yeah.
So your question is, on February 1st, we're gonna have a draft, and hopefully it'll be clean draft. And the one thing that's been driving, I won't pick on Roxanne, because I feel like she's in the arena. The one thing that Carl's been banging the drum about, that no one will listen to, is still not there. The wetlands are still not addressed. And the question for the committee at that point, this is a committee, I want to make clear, because just because I'm standing here doesn't mean I'm making any rules. So I'm trying to get out of the way of making any rules. I'm just suggesting process, but at some point, the committee will say, either we have time to continue to debate this measure or we don't. And you've set a goal of being completed by March 31st at the latest. If we get to March 28th and Mo's wetlands or Carl's wetlands still aren't there, the committee can say, Carl, we love you, buddy, but we just aren't there. And so we're moving on and we'll take a vote. And if Carl feels like that's enough for him to vote against referring to the town board, then it'll go 10-1 because the wetlands didn't make it in. Or the committee can say, well, you know what? Yeah, he's convincing me. So now 6 of us feel like we need to continue this conversation into April. And the thing keeps going.
We should see that. This is what coming to consensus
Yes.
in committee looks like.
Yes, exactly.
And so that's what we'll do. And we have-
So the one thing that everybody has to remember, it's a living document. If by any chance Carl's wetlands comes up, we can bring it back up to the town board and the town board can change the comp plan. Because you're allowed to do that. It's a living document. So if something is gone over the first time, it could be brought up a year later when it becomes important.
I'll do one better, Mo. All of you are the public. The town board is going to host a public hearing on the project. And if the committee didn't give you your due consideration, you'll have the opportunity to go to the town board and say, hey, I talked to the committee about this and they didn't think it was important. Do you think it's important?
We just had a public hearing and you heard from, I don't know how many people.
13.
That we need to talk about the land use. map. So that needs to be like its own thing, like we need to talk about that. So whether or not one person votes for it or 6 people vote for it, the public voted for it too. So like somehow that has to be incorporated in. And
Well, I'm certain,
and I'll just say, for me personally, I cannot do this deadline. So I have worked extraordinarily hard on this, but I am not gonna be able to read every single chapter by that deadline because I already had scheduled travel plans that we did not know this had to happen intensely on this time frame. So whatever, that's fine. People don't have to change it, but I just think it's very difficult over this time frame. So. And we do need to have a meeting where we talk about the land use map and the land use chapter. Maybe that's almost a whole meeting, or it's at least a solid hour of a meeting and we have to vote and decide what we think, because that's really central and people really care about it.
So we are gonna have this open house on the 19th, where people can come and specifically talk about the future land use map. In our review and understanding it's Thanksgiving, but as much as we can, if we can go through this and get this done, the majority of folks by the 30th, I think that just sets us up better for better discussions on the 10th. So we're not just trying to pick and choose here and there. We can focus and try to come to consensus on some things. That review by the 30th is going to include people's comments on the future land use map, as well as the chapter. There might be some things that we all agree on and we don't have to go through, but there will be, especially in that chapter, specific items that I can tell you 6, 7, 10 people are going to say, yes, we have to talk about this more. So I think this is still a very important exercise for everybody who can do it to be able to get to the next level. And so we're not reviewing every single page. I don't think we need to review every single page.
Not at all advocating.
But we're gonna find out what really the heart is and the concerns are.
And I would suggest that's absolutely, like, if you just know, and we heard from some folks in the public tonight, if you just know that the future land use plan needs more work. Click.
Yep.
Comment, needs more work. You're gonna get thumbs ups from around the room. That's not enough guidance for Jessica just to go do some more work all by herself. So we're gonna come back in here and have that discussion at that point. And so agree, but I will tell you, just my experience is everybody got travel plans in December. Everybody had stuff to do in December, family coming, right? So we can't put it off through December and then into January, right? So I like the way you framed it, like everybody who possibly can do as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, we all are busy. There's a lot going on. I'm missing my son's basketball game, but me too.
Well, excuse me,
Yes,
it's past my bedtime.
it is. Okay, Kim, yes.
Yeah, so I actually want to do a quick time check, but
Yes,
it's important to me. I wanted to hear your comments on the map.
Yes,
Because
I
I
was
really
excited about this.
don't think we can lose that thread.
So my comment on the maps, and again, folks, please review them, but those maps, just for the record, were not created by MRB. Those maps were created by the county based off of data that the county selects and is included in county planning documents. So we can talk to caveats about them, but we cannot go change those maps. And I don't think at this point we want MRB to redo the entire mapping. So I think we can look at it. Yes, my property is not called out correctly on the map either, but that's the county map. That's not, we're using maps that are prepared for others.
You're
So
talking
that-
about the land use map.
No, like the property. use-
Or are you talking about
Current land, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, the current use.
yes, the first figure in the land use chapter.
So is it
Can we-
valuable to use them if they're wrong?
But
That's what
I don't think that
correct
they're
me if I'm
wrong.
But is that what like taxes are based off of?
Correct.
So they are valid.
They are valid and there's a,
That map is from tax.
No.
that's
That's
Yeah.
totally different. We're
Yeah.
talking about the other map.
Trying
The
to
other
find
big
it.
one in the corner over there.
Oh, you know what?
That one over there, yes.
That,
way.
that came from the
These,
tax department.
Yeah.
these are directly from the county.
Right. And you can't
And that's
change
how the tax department
Right, and you
is
can't
looking
change
at your
those.
property. So if you have an
the assessment
issue,
department is
then you go
classified.
to the county.
And then there's, right.
Not your comment, that's on this. So yours is separate.
So how this committee chooses to use that is what's important, right? It's like a.
But
I
there
would
are
call
also
it-
different maps, right? There's property classification, land use, and then your districts and zoning. And I think that they were getting conflated a little bit tonight. And
Yeah.
so I understand that that's really, it's complicated and I don't know if maybe we need to do a cheat.
The description of each
I
one.
mean, it's built, the descriptions are built into the comp plan. We
Yeah.
describe them, but I think that people are not. I think people are picking up hot topics and being somebody that is part of these white elephant development districts. I think that that becomes a hot topic and instead of discussing them as a whole, we start pigeonholing one thing and we need to stay holistic here as a group and we need to talk about things. Niels, take it away, please. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, you chair. Sorry, Liz.
Matt,
Go.
real quick, it just a quick piggyback on that, because some of the comments that we did here tonight and that came in at the last moment was about the zoning map or land use map.
Yeah.
Different.
Zoning map.
So what I want to say, please do not conflagulate. Please remember that this is a guidance document. It is not zoning. When when we heard comments that we're getting rid of the lakeshore zone, the conservation zone, I want to make absolutely clear that that is not the case. Those are zoning. Land use, when it comes to land use designations like the low density residential, that can relate to numerous zoning regulations. So that yellow zone, the low residential, can relate to a future zone or a current zone of lakeshore conservation zone, R1. It's in the development regulations where we really start to take care of, steep slopes, streams like that. So please understand that land use is not zoning.
Right.
This is not changing.
I just want to tag off that. If you watch the planning meeting from last night, maybe from the 21st, you guys have had some really good, thoughtful conversations about this.
Yeah.
Like understanding and really good questions about what does this medium density mean? What do these mean? So I would highly encourage everybody to take the time and watch those meetings because I really appreciated them and I was lucky enough to get the one that you did yesterday and before I came here and it was very helpful.
I didn't know there was a- Roxanne?
That comment may be valid for some of the people on this committee. I think many of the people who spoke about the land use map know very well that it is not zoning. They understand the difference. They've been involved in it. They've done it before. And so I think those points are valid because when you make, as I understand it from reading the state regulations, the idea of a comp plan is that you are supposed to move your zoning to be in alignment with the comprehensive plan. And so the land use map is not the only thing that you align, but it is a big major thing when you think about zoning to align with the comprehensive plan. And so if you have an area that you think is spread all over the town, that's like the lime green, some of it's on steep slopes, some of it's along the lake, some of it is in the middle of the major agricultural A2 part of town. Yeah, in the zoning, okay, you're gonna write an incredibly complicated set of regulations that can cover all of those issues because that land use is everywhere. I think that's part of my concern, and I think it's part of the concern that I was hearing from people here, why they were concerned that those types of areas are not recognized in the future land use map as potentially different and requiring different zoning than where they are
Well,
elsewhere.
you're into policy now, and I know you were just at exhibit
Data.
clarification and data, yeah.
Yes. So please do what you can by the 26th, write comments. And then look for between the 26th and the 30th, respond and review others' comments to see what you're considering. Just to be clear, and Niels, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be. There's not a law that townships and municipalities have to create a comprehensive plan.
No.
There's no regulations, there are recommendations. So there's nothing that we're doing that's unlawful or illegal. We can't, because there are no laws that dictate what we have to do in the comprehensive plan. There are recommendations, and that's to help guide future land use, future zoning, future regulations. But there are nothing specifically that calls for us to follow X, Y, and Z. It's what we want as a committee, it's what the public wants. It's a compilation of that. So just to say that. It is 8:45.
I make a-
7:45. No, we're not done yet,
No.
because we need minutes.
Oh, I'm
So we
sorry,
need
that's
to.
right.
Anything else?
Just so I can clarify to help
Okay.
MRB's team, especially Jessica, might help if there is a motion to agree that 6.
So I make a motion that the comprehensive plan steering committee reviews the 1017 draft in correlation with the 1031 draft and provide additional comments on the 1017 version by 11/26. After that, the committee members would have a chance to review and opine on other comments from other committee members and
I think you can start, you can start liking before, like if you see a comment that's already there, like it,
As you're going through.
as you're going through. I would do that, but I just keep in mind that there may be comments that come in after that.
We're waiting for the new link. first.
Yes, tomorrow, links will come out
Yeah,
tomorrow.
okay.
I know, were you gonna review it tonight?
Excuse me?
Were you gonna start reviewing it
No.
tonight?
Well, no, I'm
I was
just,
gonna say credit for
I
you.
just wanted to know when the new link was coming.
Yeah, if we
Okay.
can get it tomorrow. that'd be
Okay.
great. So that was the motion,
I'll
it's a long
second.
motion, what?
Can I ask
forget something.
a friendly recommendation to help them know what to go into the draft for Friday, December 5th? If we can agree, if the committee can agree that 6 or more will get incorporated into that draft, and the others will be compiled into a list to
Okay.
discuss later.
What Neil's just said, 'cause I'm tired tonight. If I can reiterate that.
I can second what Neil said.
Okay, do you have all that, Crystal? I'm sorry, I'm lost in the brain. Okay,
I can help.
Going to rely on the transcript.
okay. Thank God for technology, because my brain is fried. All right, so there's a motion, a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay, that's fine. And it's not answering me. Hi. Thanks, Ann. All right, we are almost done, I promise. But we do get minutes and I don't wanna have these carry over to the next meeting, so. Niels had prepared or printed out copies of the October 22nd meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody got a chance to review them, but if not, you can take a minute quickly. And then I'll accept a motion to approve those. And then we can discuss.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the minutes from October 22nd, 2025.
Second, Carl, any comments?
Hearing none.
Hearing none. You guys are all looking at me. I make a motion or accept vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Staying. Okay. Roxanne abstained. That is fine, and that all right, Molly, this is your.
I make a motion to stay here for another 3 hours.
I
make a motion
object
to-
that.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Taping is not done.
All right, thank you, everyone, and thank you guys for staying the whole meeting.